Good morning and welcome. I am Mark Reyes, and I am your vice chair this year and chair of quality control. I am here with two special guests. I'm here with Andrew, who is my co-chair over at quality control, but I'm also here with John, who is our MLS chair. Some of the things that we wanted to talk with you today is why the MLS is a competitive market. I think it's really important to understand how the MLS does bring a sense of competition, healthy competition, but also just being able to understand why it's a competitive platform. One big reason is that all participants, all members have the same information at the same time. You can log in, you can access that information. It is all there. Nothing changes for Andrew, nothing changes for John, nothing changes specifically for me. That allows for a very healthy and quite honest competition. It's competitive. It's a competitive market. We work in a sales job. So being able to have that information available to everybody is something that's really kind of an MLS importance. John,
and I think that's, having all participants having the same information. Of course, that levels the playing field. Everybody, there's no secret information out there or anything like that. We're all starting from the same place, all the same information. So that in and of itself can create some competition. Having that information getting out to the public, to the consumer, they're now seeing that information, which then in turn will incentivize agents and brokers to work for that business. The consumer now knows some of the same information that you or I may have. So that's an incentive for us to do a better job. What differentiates me from Mark or from John Smith? So that information being out there, I think also, with the consumer being able to see that, drives value to us as members.
Well, and the MLS as a whole, especially with the advent of, and I guess proliferation of the internet, kind of changes the way that consumers think about real estate, and the way that we as real estate professionals really interact with the market. At one time, it was the expectation of the real estate agent to identify and find the properties for the buyers or for the sellers of properties. And that was really the expectation was you find the houses that you think are going to work for me, and then we're going to go and take a look at them and go from there, right? And the MLS really now has kind of flipped the script where the expectation most of the time is the buyers are out there looking at that information, oftentimes before they've even contracted a real estate professional to help them with the negotiation and sale of that property. It's really changed the way I think the flow of information is expected, where we're not gatekeepers of information. In fact, we are collectors, aggregators, and distributors of accurate and realistic real estate information in the market, where the benefit to everyone being that more people know more about real estate and what's on the market and what is available than they did even 10 or 20 years ago. The transparency factor there allows us as agents to change the way that we work, as opposed to being door openers and listing reviewers. We're more negotiators, and we are more experts in the process of the transaction. And I think that that's a benefit to everyone. There's no reason why we should gatekeep certain information as an MLS, and we don't do that. We really release it to the public through third-party aggregators and things of that nature. They're able to see everything that we can see with some very limited exception, and that's a good thing for everybody. It's better to have more information than not enough.
And I think that's kind of an important part as well, is it gives the consumers confidence as well, because they have access to some of that information. And so now they know when they're dealing with their agent or their broker that, they're not coming in blind, so to speak. They have access to some of the same data that we have. So again, it increases the competitiveness for the consumer. I mean, they now have some data that they can work with when trying to formulate a decision as to how they want to proceed with either a purchase or listing of a property. So again, that data being out there helps level that playing field for all folks involved.
Yeah, and you can see that with the growth of like the input fields in the MLS. When the MLS really first took off, it was a few fields. The MLS has continued to grow and expand upon what information it deems necessary to collect. That's why your fields seem to get longer and longer every time you want to put in a new listing. But that's intentional. It's on purpose. You know, when the MLS started as really a place to identify what homes were for sale and how much you were going to get paid to show it, right? And as things evolve, those things are not the only important fields anymore. It really is an ability for us to aggregate data and, you know, very quickly and efficiently identify hundreds of homes for potential buyers and identify competition for those that are looking to sell their homes that otherwise would not exist, right? So when you're sitting there at midnight trying to put in your listing information, you're wondering, why do I need to know what kind of roof it has, right? It's because to some people, it's very important. It takes a few minutes for us to really nail down that information, but it has a lasting impact on our consumers, on the public, and that's who we work for, right? It says it right there on line 1 of the duty zone.
And that's an interesting thing that you mentioned, the relevancy of the fields and how they change. Yeah. 10 years ago, 50 years ago, relevancy of fields were different than they are today. So I think that's a very interesting thing to also keep in mind is, you know, with the changes that happen in the MLS, it's a living, breathing database. So things come and go. And as relevancy changes in the market for different fields, yeah.
I think I want to add something to both of your points. And it's something that you kind of mentioned a little bit, which is the consumer themselves and that confidence that they have. I know there's so many times that I meet with buyers and I can show them the history of the property with just the listing history and being able to help them understand and strategically, like Andrew said, negotiate from a point that we know where maybe would be an advantage or be able to help strategize with the best start offer or the best offer or use that as part of our negotiation. But that really kind of just goes into another point that being able to have the MLS, I can't imagine, and I don't know about you guys, but I can't imagine having to search for homes without the MLS. And can you imagine? I know we
going to 5 different websites or something.
We all come across for sale by owners and having to drive through neighborhoods and you see signs. And can you imagine really without that information or having the MLS available where exposed information is immediate and it rolls out quickly to the consumer and rolls out quickly to the agents and to other neighbors and maybe buyers that aren't even looking, that just want to just play around. I know I do that in other cities, but the MLS system does allow for homes to be exposed quickly at the highest form possible.
And to the highest number of people. Yeah, I mean, the most eyeballs that somebody's going to see is through the MLS. I mean, everybody has a website, everybody has a place where they can place a home, but the fact of the matter is MLSs get it out there.
100%.
I mean, if you want the highest number of folks to see it, MLS is where it's at. And again, that's part of the competition that's out. The competitiveness of the MLS is more eyeballs that see it. It's more competitive.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think it's any accident that a lot of your third-party data aggregators that have access to our MLS feeds, their search options are very similar to our search options, right? We have more ability to really drive down into the details, and we are the experts, so we should have access to really the extent of it. But a potential buyer or someone who's looking at listing their home and trying to figure out what it is that they should reasonably expect, that information is all there, right? And, to nail the point down, we're not the gatekeepers of that information anymore. We're really there to take that information that is publicly available and use that as evidence to support what our negotiation tactics should be, whether it's identifying how much a seller of a property purchased said property for based on public records. That's all aggregated into our MLSs for us. Whether it's utilizing sale comps from recent properties to help you identify what those homes should potentially sell for, or to help you identify whether or not you really want to make an offer in this particular area. We utilize the MLS to drive competition between each other and to simultaneously advertise the benefits of our members, right? not any one particular member, not any one group of members, but every member has access to the same information. It's up to us on how we use that information. And that's where we really see the differences.
And with that information being out there and that data being out there, that also helps with the consumer in helping to reduce some of the transactional costs involved with the either the purchase or the sale or through the listing of the property. So having that data out there, it has a cost benefit to the consumer as well. Again, allowing for a more level playing field, allowing for competition, and just, keeping the MLS relevant to all the parties involved.
I think I want to add to your point too, Andrew, is that I know, speaking from just even today in my situation, my neighbor just listed it and I am watching their house like a hawk because I want to know what they sold for. And I think being able to have that information available is something that is so important to me as a homeowner that is right next to somebody that sold. If we didn't have the MLS or the system in place that would keep that information available to all of us, to the rest of my neighbors, to me, then I would never know what to really kind of even list my house for, or what they got for their house, or any information about their house. The size I can see through tax record, but being able to have it quickly available efficiently, it makes a world of a difference. And I'm waiting for it to close, and I'm hoping that they got really good money for it.
Absolutely.
But that's the competitive market of the MLS, and we don't think about that. And it's a gentle reminder that because of those things, it helps only better us as professionals, and it better educates us as owners, as renters, as consumers.
Correct.
I
couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I think that the existence of these third-party data aggregators, they would not exist and they would not have most of what is available to them without us as members and as data aggregators. I, again, don't think that it is any surprise that it is far easier in the United States to complete a real estate transaction from a start to finish than it is anywhere else in the world. And the MLS is what allows us to really accomplish that. It's because not one particular person came up with this great idea. It's all of us feeding into this system that allows us to mutually benefit from everything that we put into it. That's not going away. We're not moving that at all. But it's important for us to highlight really what we take for granted on a day-to-day basis with the MLS and the data that's available through it.
I couldn't agree more. We're going to do all that we can to make sure the MLS remains at the forefront of information, of data, and keep that competitive playing field out there for all the parties involved. So I think that's vital.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And thank you to our guests, John and Andrew. We want to remind you and take this time to let you know that we listen to everything that you guys tell us. We debate, we talk, we digest. We want to continue to hear from you. So don't ever feel like you have a board or a committee that's not listening. I can assure you and promise you that we read every single email. We listen to every single call. The LVR staff will make sure to inform us. We will dissect it. And a lot of times we will implement it. So take this opportunity to ask us questions, reach out to us. I know Andrew would love to hear from you. John would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you. All of the members of the LVR and quality control staff would love to hear from you. So thank you again for listening. We appreciate you. We'll see you out selling and keep up the hard work.
Hope to work together soon.
Thank you.